So we come now to the final process learning video. This one's about learning and adapting, and whilst it might come last, it's actually an area that has shown a great deal of progress in the last 6 months. So just to remind you, this is one of the enablers of change to support more people to be active in Greater Manchester. And what we already knew was that with no KPIs or key performance indicators explicitly associated with the local pilot, the emphasis had been placed on very firmly by the central team on using data and insight to inform approaches, and then testing and learning and building on what was learned. And whilst that seems like quite a straightforward ask, actually what we established was that critical reflection in practice is typically deprioritised before just really getting on and doing stuff. And that it has taken some time for the locality teams to really embed this way of working and to value it, and also to build the necessary trust between people across the localities who perhaps in the past may have seen each other slightly as competitors, but to build trust to be able to actually have those open and honest conversations. And what we've seen now through to March 2020 is a real step change in the extent to which people feel that there is an opportunity to learn from others across Greater Manchester. And so here's just a statistic from our stakeholder perception survey that where the average score given by all Greater Manchester moving stakeholders is that this area of work is established to 4.5 out of 7. Those directly involved in the local pilot give that area of a score of 5.1 out of 7. So there's a number of reasons that we can give to explain this change. One is that there has just been time where people have got closer to each other, have spent more time in each other's companies. Another being because we've moved mainly to a web-based, or in fact entirely to a web-based platform for the local forum meetings, for the system leadership training, and for the evaluation collective sense-making sessions. It's meant that actually more people can attend those more regularly without taking a lot of time out of their day, and that's enabled much more of a collective sense of ownership over those sessions. We've changed the format as well, in that a lot is geared around sharing rich stories, and the evaluation team, rather than presenting the findings, are spending more time extracting meaning from the stories that the teams share. So this does seem to indicate that those efforts, particularly put in, and the emphasis put in by the central team to devise the right formats and places for local pilot teams to share, are actually now coming to fruition, and we're seeing just a step change in the way that people are engaging with the learning. So with that in place, what we're now looking for is the teams who are gaining a much better understanding about why they might be taking a different approach, how they might go about doing it, to move into this commitment to actually testing new ideas, and to have the courage of their convictions that whilst they're never going to have the perfect data set to underscore their approaches, actually they can take mini steps to test things out and then see how they work and move towards scaling. And we've seen that in an example from Tameside this time around, where just the local lead drawing, using a pavement drawing, we're using chalk, has led to a programme that's engaged the schools and the local planning officers in creating more street art for young people and children to get involved in pavement games, which will have a lasting legacy beyond the coronavirus pandemic. So our recommendations based on the learning for this last 6 months is to just keep going with those remote learning sessions and building capacity amongst the wider teams to now share the learning, and think about how can we actually get this way of thinking to a wider group of stakeholders beyond the local pilot leads themselves. And then finally, just to encourage more people to take that first initial step to doing things slightly differently through even a mini test, which can catalyse further action and give more opportunities to learn and subsequently adapt. So that concludes our process learning theory videos, thinking about the enablers of change to encourage more people to be active in Greater Manchester. I do encourage you to read the full report, which includes more detail on these theory areas, but also some case examples and deep dives into particular issues to really bring to life some of the ideas and the understanding that we are developing together.